The wasteland was endless. Dry wind moved across broken metal and old bones of the past world. Empty buildings stood like dead giants, their windows open like dark mouths. In this silent land, one man walked alone. He was known simply as the warrior, a human survivor who had crossed many battles and storms. His armor was scratched, his face tired, but his eyes were sharp. He moved carefully, always ready, always alert. For many days, he had not seen another living soul. The wasteland had become quiet after the Great Machine War. Most humans were gone, and only machines and strange creatures walked here now. But the warrior kept moving. He had a purpose, though even he did not fully understand why he continued. Maybe hope, maybe duty, maybe habit. But he walked. As he stepped over an overturned bus, he suddenly stopped. A sound, soft, weak, almost lost. In the wind, a cry. The warrior froze, listening. At first he thought it was the wind passing through broken pipes, but then he heard it again, small, shaky, frightened. Not the cry of an animal, not the whirring of a machine, a child. The warrior moved toward the sound, pushing aside a metal sheet lying against a ruined wall. Behind it, hidden under dust and wires, was a small shape. A small body curled into itself, trembling. It was a child, but not human. The skin was pale blue. The ears were thin and long. The eyes, even though half closed with fear, glowed a soft silver. This was a young alien child, no older than 6 or 7 by human measure. The warrior knelt beside the child. He spoke softly. "Hey, it's all right. I won't hurt you." The child did not speak, only shook harder. Then the warrior saw the small cuts on the child's arm, dried blood, and a torn piece of clothing with a strange symbol burned into it. A mark, a warning, a claim. Someone had been chasing this child. The warrior looked around. Footprints in the dust. Large, heavy, deep, too deep for humans. Too wide for normal creatures. Hunters. Machine trackers. Built to find, to capture, and to kill. He felt the tension rise in his chest. He looked back at the child, weak, scared, alone. He knew what this meant. If he picked the child up, he invited danger. If he walked away, he stayed safe. But he had seen too much death to leave. A child behind, any child, human or alien. He breathed out slowly. "All right, kid," he whispered. "You're coming with me." He lifted the child gently. The little one held onto his armor with shaking fingers. The warrior wrapped a cloth around the child to keep the dust away. He began to move, choosing narrow paths between broken buildings. His steps were quiet. His eyes constantly checked the shadows. For a moment, everything was silent again. Then a loud crack echoed across the ruins. A piece of metal fell from a distant rooftop, bouncing on concrete. The warrior stopped immediately. He looked up. Something moved on top of an old tower. A dark shape, tall, thin. Its eyes glowed red through the dust clouds. A machine hunter. It had found them. The warrior held the child closer and whispered, "Stay quiet. Don't look back." He slowly stepped into the shadow of a broken wall. The hunter remained still for a few seconds, scanning the area. Its sensors clicked softly like insect legs scratching metal. The warrior pressed his back against the wall, muscles tense, waiting for the machine to pass. But the hunter did not leave. Instead, it turned its head directly toward them. It had locked onto their heat signatures. The warrior cursed under his breath. He began to run, carrying the child tight against his chest. The ground shook as the hunter leaped from the rooftop to chase them. Dust exploded behind them. The child let out a small cry, burying their face in the warrior's armor. The warrior didn't stop. He sprinted through the ruins, turning sharp corners, jumping over debris, breathing hard but never slowing down. He knew he had only moments before the hunter reached them. He reached an old bunker door half buried under sand. He pulled it open with force and slipped inside with the child. Darkness swallowed them. The hunter landed outside with a heavy thud. Hits. Metallic claws scraped the bunker door. The warrior held his breath. The child clung to him. Silence. Then a deep mechanical growl echoed from outside. More footsteps, more hunters. They had been found. The bunker was cold and dark, but it was the only place where the warrior could catch his breath. Dust fell slowly from the ceiling as distant metal. Footsteps echoed above them. The warrior stood still, listening, holding the alien child close to his chest. He could feel the child's tiny heart beat fast, shaking with fear. The bunker smelled of rust and old war memories. Broken helmets, empty ammo boxes, and torn human flags lay across the floor. It was a grave of the past world, but now it was their temporary shelter. The warrior whispered, "You're safe." For now, the child didn't speak. Instead, the small silver eyes looked up at him, full of fear and trust at the same time. The warrior felt something strange in his chest, something he hadn't felt in a long time: responsibility, protection, purpose. But outside, the hunters were not giving up. A heavy thud hit the bunker door. Then another. And another. The warrior closed his eyes for one moment, planning, thinking. He couldn't fight multiple hunters while carrying the child. He needed to escape, silently, quickly, without leaving a trail. He scanned the bunker and found an old maintenance hatch half covered by rubble. He pushed the debris aside, coughing as dust filled the air. Beneath the rubble was a small rusted door with a broken lock. A way out. He knelt and looked at the child. "We have to move. Do not make a sound." The child nodded slowly, wiping tears with small trembling hands. The warrior opened the hatch and climbed down a narrow ladder, carrying the child carefully. The metal creaked under their weight. He prayed it wouldn't break. Below, a long tunnel stretched into darkness. He clicked on a small flashlight attached to his armor, its weak beam cutting through the shadows. The tunnel was tight, cold, and filled with old cables running along the walls like metal vines. Drops of water fell from the ceiling, echoing like tiny bells. The warrior walked, each step controlled, each breath slow. Behind him, the bunker door above finally broke open with a violent crash. Hunters entered. Their footsteps were sharp and precise, cold metal on concrete. Their scanning lights swept the room. The warrior did not look back. He moved faster, slipping deeper into the tunnel. Minutes passed, heavy and slow. Then the child tugged gently on his armor. He stopped. "What is it?" The child raised a small, shaking hand and pointed into the darkness ahead. Something was there. At first, the warrior heard nothing. Then, a faint vibration. A humming whisper. A machine sound, but soft like something sleeping. He tightened his grip on his knife, holding the child behind him. He stepped forward slowly. The tunnel turned left. As he peeked around the corner, he saw a destroyed machine lying across the floor, an old battle drone. Its core had died years ago. Nothing to fear, but the child kept pointing. The warrior knelt and looked closer. Then he saw them fresh footprints in the dust. They were not from hunters. These were lighter, faster, human. Another survivor. Or a trap. He didn't have time to think. Behind them, hunters entered the tunnel. Their sensors beeped softly as they detected heat patterns. The warrior lifted the child again. "Hold tight," he whispered. "Do not look back." He ran. The tunnel shook as hunters chased them, their metal claws clicking rapidly on the ground. Dust filled the air, mixing with the low hum of machine voices speaking in codes. The child broke silence for the first time in hours. A small whisper. "They are close." The warrior nodded. "I know." He reached a broken ladder leading upward. He climbed with one hand while holding the child with the other. The hatch above resisted at first but gave way with a rusty scream. Sunlight burst in. He pulled himself and the child out into a ruined street. Old cars lay overturned. Half-melted buildings leaned sideways like tired giants. For a moment, the world was quiet. Then the ground shook. The hunter burst from the tunnel beneath, ripping metal apart with its claws. Its red eyes locked onto them instantly. Another hunter followed, then a third. The warrior grabbed a broken metal pipe as his only weapon. He could fight one, maybe two, but three, while protecting the child. Impossible. He backed away slowly, positioning himself between the child and the hunters. The hunters spread out, silent, calculating. Their eyes glowed brighter. The warrior whispered, "Stay behind me, no matter what." The child touched his arm lightly and shook its head. Then the child's eyes glowed silver for just 1 second. Strange pulse moved through the air. The hunters froze, only for a moment, but enough for the warrior to drag the child into a narrow side alley. The hunters rebooted instantly and roared in mechanical anger. They began moving again, faster this time. The warrior felt his heart pound. He knew now. The hunters wanted the child more than anything, and they would not stop, not until they were dead, or he was. The alley was narrow, filled with broken crates and fallen metal beams. The warrior ran without looking back, holding the child firmly in his arms. Behind them, the hunter's metallic roars grew louder, echoing between the ruined buildings like thunder. His boots hit the ground hard, dust rising with every step. The child's small hands clung to his armor, shaken with fear, but saying nothing. The warrior could feel the trembling body pressed against his chest. He whispered, breathless, "Just a little more, hold on." The alley opened into a wide highway covered with the wreckage of old cars. Rusted engines, cracked windows, and collapsed billboards stretched across the horizon. The place smelled of oil, metal, and old fire. But the open space was dangerous. No walls to hide behind. The warrior set the child down gently. "Stay close. Do exactly what I say." The child nodded, silver eyes wide and alert. For a moment, the world was quiet. Then a metal crash shook the air. A hunter leaped from a rooftop and landed on a crushed vehicle ahead of them. Its weight bent the car like paper. Red eyes locked onto the warrior and the child. Another hunter arrived from behind, and another crawled down a building wall with sharp claws. They were surrounded. The warrior quickly scanned the highway, searching for any escape route. Then he noticed an overturned cargo truck with a half-open door, leading to a small maintenance tunnel beneath the road. "Run to that truck," he whispered to the child. "But when I tell you, not before." The child stared at the hunters, frightened but listening. The hunters stepped forward, moving slowly, calculating. Their spines glowed blue, charging energy weapons. One lifted its clawed arm, preparing to fire. The warrior raised both hands slightly, as if surrendering. Actually, he was stalling. He breathed in deeply. Then, in one explosive motion, he grabbed a heavy metal rod from the ground and threw it with full force. The rod hit the nearest hunter in the head. Sparks flew. The machine staggered. "Run!" The warrior shouted. The child sprinted toward the truck, small feet jumping over broken glass and metal. The warrior followed, but a hunter lunged at him. He rolled under its claws, grabbed its leg, and pulled hard. The machine crashed onto its back, metal screaming. But the second hunter moved fast, leaping forward with razor claws. The warrior blocked with his forearm, pain shooting through his body. He kicked the hunter backward, then charged toward the child. The child reached the truck and crawled inside the broken door. The warrior jumped after the child just as a hunter's blade sliced the air where his head had been a second earlier. He pulled the door shut. Inside the truck was dark, dusty, filled with old crates and wires. The metal walls shook as the hunters slammed against the outside. The child looked at him with fear. They won't stop." "I know," he said quietly. "But neither will I." He pushed aside a crate, revealing the maintenance hatch beneath the floor. He forced it open and guided the child inside. The tunnel below was narrow but long, stretching under the highway. The warrior climbed down and closed the hatch just as the hunters tore the truck apart. Inside the tunnel, it was dim and cold. Only sounds were their footsteps and distant machine roars fading behind them. The warrior moved fast, but carefully, scanning the shadows. Then the child tugged at his sleeve again. "They are not behind us now," the child whispered. "They are in front." The warrior stopped. He listened. A faint metallic ticking echoed from deeper in the tunnel. A different machine sound, not the loud footsteps of hunters. Something smaller, faster, hidden. He stepped forward, slowly, knife in hand. At the next turn, he found a small reconnaissance drone floating silently in the dark. Its red lens glowed like an eye. It scanned the tunnel, searching. The child whispered, "It's calling them." The warrior grabbed a broken pipe from the ground and threw it with full force. Crash. The drone shattered into pieces, sparks flashing across the tunnel. But it was too late. The hunters now knew their exact location. The tunnel lights flickered. The ground vibrated. Far behind them, a deep metal roar echoed. More hunters were coming. The warrior lifted the child again. "We need to get out of the tunnels, now." They ran through the twisting corridor until they reached a cracked metal grate leading upward. The warrior punched it with his fist again and again until it broke open. Sunlight hit their faces as they climbed out onto a deserted train station platform. For a second, everything was still. Then the child whispered, voice shaking, "They want me. They need me. They will never stop." The warrior looked down at the child, eyes hard with resolve. "Then they'll have to get through me first." But even he knew this was no longer just a chase. The abandoned train station was huge and silent, its walls cracked and covered in sand. Old train cars lay on their sides like fallen beasts. Rusted rails ran into darkness, and hanging wires swung gently in the wind. The warrior stepped onto the dusty platform with the child in his arms, scanning every shadow. For a short moment, there was peace. No footsteps. No metal echoes. No red eyes. But the warrior knew better. The hunters had tracked them across miles of wasteland. They would not stop just because the sun shone on an empty station. He set the child down. "Stay close. Don't wander anywhere, not even a step." The child nodded, eyes still glowing faintly silver with fear. They moved through the platform toward a staircase leading underground. The warrior planned to find another exit, hopefully. A place with thick walls where he could fight on his terms. He needed higher ground, stronger cover, anything that could give them a chance. But halfway down the stairs, a deep, mechanical growl shook the air. The warrior spun around. A hunter stood above them, blocking the exit. Its tall metallic body gleamed under the broken sunlight. Its eyes glowed blood red, scanning both the warrior and the child. The warrior pushed the child behind him. "Get back," he whispered. The hunter leaped. The warrior barely had time to dodge. The machine landed so hard that cracks split the concrete floor. Dust exploded upward, filling the stairwell. The warrior rolled to the side, grabbing a broken metal bar from the ground. The child screamed, but stayed in the corner as instructed. The hunter charged again. The warrior swung the metal bar with everything he had. The bar hit the hunter's face, sending sparks flying. The machine staggered for a moment, then roared with anger, its voice like grinding steel. The warrior shouted, "Come on then!" The hunter slashed with its claws. The warrior dodged, but one claw caught his shoulder, tearing his armor and skin. Pain shot through him, but he didn't stop. He hit the hunter again, this time in the knee joint. The metal dented, the joint cracked. The warrior saw the machine slow. He pressed the advantage, slamming the bar into the damaged leg again and again until the hunter collapsed to one knee. But even broken, it kept fighting, grabbing his arm with iron strength. The warrior felt his bones strain. He gritted his teeth and forced himself not to scream. The child watched, trembling. Silver tears filled the young alien's eyes, but the warrior didn't stop fighting. With a final shout, he smashed the metal bar into the hunter's neck. The machine's head jerked sideways, sparks flying. It collapsed to the ground with a heavy crash, its red eyes dimming. The warrior stepped back, breathing hard, body shaking. The child ran to him. "You're hurt," the child whispered. He wiped the blood from his shoulder. "Just a scratch." It was much more than a scratch, but he didn't want the child to panic. He looked around the station. "We need to move. There will be more." But the child didn't move. Instead, the small alien stared at the fallen hunter, then at the warrior's wounds. Slowly, carefully, the child placed a hand over his torn shoulder. A soft silver glow spread from the child's palm. The pain eased. The bleeding slowed. The warrior felt warmth move through his muscles. He stared at the child in shock. "You healed me?" The child looked down shyly. "A little. Not much." Before the warrior could speak again, a distant tremor shook the ground. The warrior's face hardened. Asterisk. He knew that sound. Heavy, rhythmic, coordination of multiple units moving as one. More hunters. Many more. He lifted the child again and ran. Through the underground passage. Broken screens flickered on the walls, showing static and old warnings. Pipes hissed as he passed. The child clung to him, eyes wide. At the end of the tunnel, they reached a collapsed wall. A small gap led into an open field outside the station. The warrior pushed through, carrying the child to safety. Then he stopped. On the horizon, through the dust clouds, dark shapes marched toward the station. Not 3. Not 5. At least a dozen hunters. Above them, a larger shape moved, taller, heavier, with glowing blue armor plates. "The commander unit," the child whispered, voice shaking. They know where we are." The warrior tightened his grip on the child. He was tired. Wounded. Outnumbered. But he was human. And humans did not bow. He looked at the child and said quietly, "Then we make our stand." But even he knew the next fight would be their hardest. Yet, the warrior carried the child across the open field, moving fast even though every step hurt. Dust blew hard against them, and the sky darkened as storm clouds rolled in. Behind them, the army of hunters moved like shadows in the wind, silent, focused, unstoppable. The warrior reached a line of broken fences and rusted gates. Beyond them stood an old research station, half destroyed, half buried in sand, but still standing. Its metal walls were cracked, and shattered glass lay everywhere. The sign on the door was faded, but the warrior could still read the letters. "Human Advanced Research Base, Sector 9. He pushed the door open with his shoulder and stepped inside. It was dark. Only a few ceiling lights flickered weakly, buzzing like dying insects. The air smelled of burnt wires and chemicals. Machines lay scattered across the floor, screens broken, wires hanging like vines. The warrior set the child down on a metal bench. "You're safe here," he said softly. 4. Now the child looked around with big silver eyes. "This place. I know it." The warrior frowned. "You've been here before?" The child nodded slowly, hugging their knees. "I remember lights, machines, and people wearing white suits. They took me from my home. They said I was special." The warrior sat across from the child, giving full attention. "Special how?" The child placed a small hand over their own chest. "I can feel things. Energy, machines. I can sense when something is near, even far away." The warrior remembered how the child warned him about danger before it came, how their eyes glowed when hunters were close, how they healed his wound. He leaned forward. "Did the researchers make you this way?" The child shook their head. "No, I was born like this. My people call it the silver sense, but the humans here wanted to study me. They wanted to use my power for war." The warrior felt anger burn inside him, not at the child, but at the past mistakes of his own kind. He asked gently, "How did you escape?" The child whispered, voice trembling. "There was a fire. The machines rebelled. Everyone ran. I hid in a small vent and got outside. But the hunters, they were ordered to find me." The warrior's hands tightened into fists. So the hunters weren't just destroying everything, they were following an old human command. A forgotten order from a dead army. The child was not their enemy, just a mission target. He stood up and walked toward a control panel, trying to power it on. The screen flickered, showing static. He tapped a few buttons. Nothing. Behind him, the child spoke again, quiet but shaking. "They want me because they can use me. My power can help them track all living beings. They can use me as a weapon against survivors." The warrior turned back toward the child. His voice was steady. "I won't let them take you." The child's eyes filled with tears. "They will keep coming. They don't get tired. They don't stop. And the commander coming now. He knows me. He was the machine who watched me in the lab." The warrior felt a chill run through him. Before he could speak, the station suddenly went silent. Lights shut off. The air conditioner stopped. The screens went dark. Then a soft mechanical click echoed from the hallway. The child grabbed the warrior's arm. "They found us." "No," the warrior said, listening carefully. "Not hunters. This sound is smaller." A tiny spider-like machine crawled out of a vent. Its body blinked with blue lights. It wasn't attacking, it was scanning. The child stepped behind the warrior. The small machine projected a hologram onto the wall. A message in broken text appeared. "Survivor warning, Hunter Squad, 90 seconds away, exit north gate." The warrior stared at the little machine. A survivor must have sent it. Someone was still alive, fighting the hunters from afar. He grabbed the child's hand. "We're leaving." They ran through the station's broken hallways, stepping over fallen cables and shattered glass. The north gate was partly open, held up by rusted hinges. The warrior kicked it wide. Outside, the wind screamed. Sand whipped across their faces, but at least they were out. Behind them, metal footsteps grew louder and louder. The child looked up sadly. "They won't stop, not until I am captured." The warrior lifted the child into his arms and whispered, "They won't capture you. Not while I'm alive." The child touched his cheek softly. "Why do you protect me?" The warrior paused, then said quietly, "Because someone needs to." They reached the top of a hill overlooking the old highway. From behind the research base, the hunters emerged line after line. Glowing eyes cutting through dust. At the center of them stood the commander unit, taller, brighter, stronger. Its blue armor plates reflected lightning. The child whispered, voice shaking, "He's here." The warrior tightened his grip. Storms gathered above. Machines gathered below. And the war was closing in. The wind howled across the wasteland as the warrior climbed the hill, carrying the child in his arms. Sand struck his armor like needles. The sky above was dark and heavy, flashing with distant lightning. Behind them, the marching hunters moved in straight lines, glowing like cold stars across the dead land. The warrior stopped at the top of the hill. Below it stood an old stone structure, half wall, half gate, once part of a fortress long destroyed in the machine war. Locals called it the Ruin Gate, a place where soldiers once made their last defense. Now, only broken pillars and scattered rubble remained, but it was the perfect place to make a stand. The warrior set the child behind a fallen stone block. "Stay low. Stay quiet. When I say run, you run, understand?" The child nodded, eyes wide. The warriors scanned the ground. Old metal scraps, broken shields, and rusted rods were scattered everywhere. He quickly grabbed pieces he could use. He set up traps, simple ones, but deadly. A sharp wire stretched between two stones. A heavy metal plate leaning on a cracked column. Broken glass hidden under sand. His moves were fast. Practiced. The child watched him, trembling. "You're preparing." "For all of them?" The child whispered. The warrior didn't look up. "Preparing to buy us time." The child shook their head. "You can't fight so many. Even you are just one human." The warrior paused, then smiled slightly. "One human is enough." Before the child could answer, a deep metal roar rolled across the land. The hunters had reached the hill. Their red and blue eyes glowed through the dust like fireflies in a storm. The warrior stepped to the center of the ruined gate, standing tall, unmoving. He shouted into the wind, "Come then!" The first hunter charged. It stepped onto the wire trap and fell forward, crashing into the dirt. The warrior smashed a stone onto its head, sparks bursting in the air. Another hunter lunged from the left. The warrior rolled aside, grabbed its arm, and used all his strength to slam it into a broken pillar. The pillar shattered, collapsing onto the machine. The warrior didn't stop. A third hunter appeared. It struck him with a metal claw, throwing him backward. He hit the ground hard, pain exploding across his ribs. Blood filled his mouth, but he stood up again. Always, humans broke. But humans rose. The hunter fired a blast from its arm cannon. The warrior dodged, grabbed a broken spear from the ground, and threw it. The spear pierced the hunter's eye, killing. It instantly died behind the fallen machines. More hunters advanced, 6, 8, 10. The warrior's chest burned. His legs trembled. But he kept fighting. One machine grabbed him from behind, lifting him off the ground. The warrior smashed his elbow into its face, then twisted hard, breaking its grip. Another hunter swung a blade toward him. He blocked it with his arm, screaming as metal cut deep into flesh. Still, he fought. His anger, his pain, his promise to protect the child, these kept him moving. This was his HFY moment. He was only human, but humans were made for survival. The child watched with shaking hands. "Please, please stop. They will kill you." The warrior couldn't hear. His focus was total. 2 more hunters rushed him. He dodged one, grabbed the fallen weapon from the ground, an old human plasma knife, and ignited it. Blue fire burst from the blade. He plunged it into the nearest hunter, slicing through steel like cloth. But then, the ground. VIBRATE. The child's breath stopped. The commander unit stepped forward. Taller than all the others. Plates glowing with shifting blue lights. Its voice echoed like thunder mixed with electricity. "Target, child, remove the human obstruction." The warrior wiped blood from his face. "You'll have to go through me." The commander stepped forward, each footstep cracking the ground. The warrior tightened his grip on the plasma. Blade. Lightning flashed above them. Wind screamed around them. The child held the stone block tightly, tears running down their cheeks. A low whisper escaped their lips. "Please, don't die." The commander raised its arm, energy charging, bright and deadly. The warrior took a step forward, ready to face the unstoppable, ready to fight to the last breath. The world seemed to freeze for a moment. Then the commander attacked, and the warrior met it head-on. The final battle had begun. The commander's attack hit the ground. With a massive explosion of blue light, dust shot upward like a wave. Stone cracked. The force threw the warrior back, slamming him into a fallen pillar. Pain exploded through his ribs. His vision blurred, but he did not fall. He pushed himself up, leaning on the plasma blade. His legs shook, but his eyes stayed fixed on the towering metal giant in front of him. The commander scanned him. "You are damaged. You cannot continue." The warrior spat blood and answered with a faint smile. "You don't know humans very well." The commander stepped forward, raising its arm again. Energy gathered in its palm, brighter than before. The air hummed with deadly power. The child cried from behind the stone block. "Stop! Leave him alone!" The commander ignored the cry. The warrior moved before the attack could fire. He charged, pushing his body harder than it had ever been pushed. His muscles screamed, his wounds burned. His breath came out ragged. He thrust the plasma blade toward the commander's chest, but the commander blocked it with a single swift motion. The impact sent sparks flying. The warrior tried again from the side. The commander deflected. Then the machine grabbed the warrior by the neck and lifted him off the ground. The warrior struggled for breath. His feet kicked helplessly. The commander's cold voice echoed, "Human strength is insufficient." The child stood up suddenly, shaking with fear. And something else. A strange glow began to rise from the child's skin, silver, brighter than ever before. The child whispered, "Let him go." The commander didn't react. The child's voice rose, trembling with emotion. "I said, let him go." A shockwave burst from the child's body, silent but powerful. The silver energy rippled across the ruined gate like a soft wind. The commander froze, its eyes flickering. For the first time, it hesitated. The warrior dropped to the ground, coughing, gasping for air. He looked at the child in shock. The child stood glowing like a rising star, fear mixed with courage. "I can feel all their minds, all their circuits. I can stop them, but I don't have much strength." The warrior forced himself to stand. "Use what you have, I'll do the rest." The commander recovered, turning toward the child. "Primary target. Requires securement." It stepped forward. The warrior jumped in front of the commander, blocking its path once again. This time, he didn't wait. He slashed at the commander's leg. The blade cut deep, but the commander struck him back with a heavy punch. He flew across the ground, rolling through dust and rubble. His ribs cracked. His vision dimmed. He could barely hear the child scream, "No!" But even lying broken on the ground, the warrior tried to rise. His arms shook. His body refused, but his will did not. "I will not stay down." He forced one knee. Up. The child's glow grew brighter, so bright the dust around them turned white. Silver streams of energy floated from the child's hands, reaching toward the commander's head. The machine struggled. Sparks burst from its circuits. The child cried out, voice shaking with pain, "Warrior! Now I can't hold him long." The warrior pushed himself up fully. Every bone screamed, every breath burned. But he stood because humanity stands even when everything else falls. He gripped the plasma blade with both hands and charged. The commander tried to break free from the child's power, but its movements slowed, jammed, interrupted, trapped by the glowing energy. Warrior reached the machine, raised the blade high, and drove it straight into the commander's core. The core exploded with a blinding blue flash. The commander roared loud, glitching, collapsing inward. Its armor cracked apart. Lights died one by one. The giant machine fell to its knees, then crashed into the dust. Dead. Silence washed across the wasteland. Behind the defeated commander, all the remaining hunters suddenly stopped. Their eyes flickered, dimmed, and then went dark. With their leader gone, their system shut down. One by one, they fell lifeless to the ground. The warrior dropped the plasma blade and fell to his knees, exhausted. The child ran to him and hugged him tightly. "You did it," the child whispered. He stroked the child's head gently. "No, we did it. Together." The storm clouds above began to break, letting sunlight fall through the dark sky. The world looked different, still broken, still harsh, but now hopeful. The child looked up at him. "Where will we go now?" The warrior smiled, tired but proud. "Anywhere, everywhere, as long as we walk together." The child nodded and took his hand. The warrior stood, holding the child's small fingers in his strong, damaged hand. They walked away from the battlefield, toward the rising light. Two survivors. One human, One alien child bound by courage, trust, and a moment that proved